Coming up on today's show, I'm going to just have a quick look back at Saturday's 1-0 win at Craven Cottage. We've got the points on the board, and then look ahead to another 2-game week for West Ham United. Before we get into it, drop a like and subscribe to West Ham Unofficial. Now, the main sort of factors I took out of the game yesterday at Craven Cottage was that Moyes mixed things up a bit, and so he got criticism before the game for starting people like Creswell, not starting people like a Gerd and Emerson, but in the end it managed to work. Now, whether that was more a tactical masterclass or Fulham's lack of effort, or not lack of effort, lack of sort of quality in that final third, I think it's probably the latter. But in the end, it did work. And I just wanted to discuss on a more deeper level the sort of introduction of particularly Creswell down that left-hand side, because we all sort of highlighted that David Moyes had to make some changes in one of these 3 games we had in the 6-day period. Southampton, Newcastle, and Fulham. We were in the predicament where we'd played the 2 games for Southampton, Newcastle. We got 3 points out of the 2 games, and we hadn't really rotated too much. So I suppose there was an expectation of some sort of rotation, because these players are human after all. So there had to be an element of that in there somewhere, especially because of the constant fixture schedule that keeps going through April and into May to some extent as well, depending on how far we get in the Europa Conference League. So there was some rotation which was to be expected, but it almost took us a little bit by surprise seeing Creswell in there and not Emerson, because I think Emerson probably could have started that game. In the end, it didn't matter too much because they didn't exploit his vulnerabilities, which sort of shocks me a little bit. Maybe it was because they weren't expecting him to start, because he hasn't started for a long time, or whether they just weren't able to. I don't know, because they were very poor on the day, Fulham. But I think in the end, with the benefit of hindsight, I think the tactical, or just to rest Emerson decision actually looks quite good now, because Emerson's rested and he's fit and he's ready to go. Whether he decides to play him on Thursday night, which I'd expect him to, away from home at Ghent, and then probably to come back and play the game against Arsenal on Sunday. You can probably justify him playing both of those games now. So just getting that rest is valuable for him, I think. And, to get away with no damage, having started Creswell there, I think will give David Moyes a massive boost as well. I don't think that'll happen again. And I wouldn't particularly like to see Creswell starting another game or starting too many more games in the remainder of the season. But you've got to give the credit to him. And it was a little bit refreshing as well, because we put some crap crosses into the box this season. But I think it was inside 2 minutes, he put a decent curl ball into the box, and I was like, this is what I've missed. And I said to Dad, if only he had a bit of pace, which would cover him, because his defensive capability is undeniable. He is a very good defender, but just the pace lets him down. And he is too old to be playing every week in the Premier League. He hasn't got that quality anymore. But if only he had that pace, then I think he'd still be able to do it. And I think he sort of not rolled back the years. Well, I suppose he did in a way, because he was solid. And I think him starting Creswell sort of made the decision to start Fornals as well, because I don't think Ben Rama has been particularly good as of late, and Fornals hasn't started recently. So I think that was a sort of knock-on effect of why Moyes chose Fornals as well, just for that added extra cover eventually when he did go over to that left-hand side to support Creswell there. So, and then Ogbonna starting, he wasn't exploited. He's a cool, calm head. He didn't make too many mistakes, and yes, his pace can be exploited, but I think we did defend resolutely and incredibly well, and that's got to go down to the players there. I thought Ogbonna was excellent. Creswell played well. He was solid. He didn't make any glaring errors, which is exactly what Moyes would have possibly hoped to get out of the game. And it's the points on the board now. It's the relief. No matter the turbulence and the dislike between Moyes and the fans, which is evident, it's the points on the board. And there's not one fan that went to Craven Cottage on Saturday hoping for West Ham to lose to get Moyes sacked. And, we did win, and you could see the scenes at full time. The players came over, they gave it some, and the fans gave it back. There was a real sense of togetherness that was, brought back into the team and the fan base, because there's been quite a big disconnect there in recent weeks because of the negativity that has casted around the fan base. And it was nice to see that, putting Moyes to the side, you could see a sort of togetherness come back there between the fans and the players. So that was good to see. And overall, putting the quality of football to the side, it was a very, very good 3 points to get on. And now we move on where we're in another predicament here, because we want some damage limitation on Sunday. If we get anything on Sunday, I think it'll be an absolute miracle. But of course, that's not what Moyes is going to be saying in the lead up to this game. But we do have a quarter-final sandwich in the middle of these two games against Ghent, and it's away from home. And we could see that European hangover return for West Ham. And Moyes has got to be smart in what he does. I'd expect Lanzini and Downs to come back into midfield. I would expect him to start Rice because he does start every game, and he wants to start every game in there as well. So that is probably to be expected. But Moyes needs to use all of the players in this squad to really get the best and to give ourselves a fighting chance against Arsenal on Sunday. As much as our first team, or as what Moyes decides, our first team players need to be rested and ready to go, because we can't go with too many tired legs into a game against an Arsenal side that are going to want to put the rights of tonight against Liverpool wrong and get another 3 points on the board and lay the pressure straight back on to Man City again. So that game is in the distance, but we've got to be looking at it as well, because we don't want to get thumped, because the morale was massively damaged between the fan base and the squad on Wednesday night. We managed to pick ourselves up again after Wednesday night, but we obviously don't want one of those situations again. So we need to be smart about it, and that's where Moyes needs to look ahead, and his team need to sort of put together a plan now where we've got to be smart about this. We've got to use our whole squad. We've got these players there, and Moyes needs to use them. And of course, if we do rotate quite heavily and then things aren't going to plan, by all means at halftime change it and bring on the big guns. But I do feel, and especially looking ahead, we've played 2 games a week for a fair few weeks now. He's got to continue to use the squad, and it will shock us, and we probably will be raging with some lineups we're going to see over the next few weeks. Like, why is he dropped X player? Why is he playing him? He's a liability, etc., etc. But in order to get the best out of the players in what Moyes sees as the most important games of the season, then we are going to have to sacrifice to get the best out of them in perhaps some of the other games. So Moyes has got a bit of a conundrum coming out. That's what I thought I'd discuss in this video. Put your thoughts into the comment section down below. What do you think Moyes is going to do? Do you think he's going to throw everything at this Conference League game, knowing in the back of the head we're going to probably lose to Arsenal? No matter what, we might give him a good go. You never know, but it would surprise me and the majority of the fan base if we do pick up a point against Arsenal. So maybe the priority might be held with a quarter-final European tie. I don't know. It's an interesting debate to have. And of course, the following week, we've then got the home tie, which is a little bit better. There will still be a hangover there, but obviously there's not so much travel involved. Getting back, we're going to be getting back on Friday and then training and then straight back into a game against the rampant league leaders that have been on fire all season, Arsenal, on the Sunday. It's brutal. So that's my reasoning behind probably Moyes making some changes on Thursday over in Belgium. But yeah, thoughts in the comment section. Drop a like on the video. Subscribe to West Ham Official if you're new. Just to round off then, obviously, from yesterday's performance, delighted with the 3 points. Well, not the performance, delighted with the 3 points, not the performance. But at this stage of the season, I do not care about how we get the points. As long as we get them, we can then regroup and really, think of our long-term plan and future once we've secured safety. But until then, I don't want to hear any of the negativity if we're picking up points and if we're winning games, because that is got to be the most important thing now going into these last 8 games of this season. That's it from me. Come on, you honest, and we'll see you soon right here at West Ham Official. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.